Today was one of the most deadliest days as I would say, and I'm going to recount something really big here for whoever is watching. So keep in mind, this is not a one-to-one scale recount, but rather what I can remember, and for police officials. So check the official footage that I sent and Walmart if they can offer it. And for the recount, around 11 to 12, 2 p.m., I decided to work on some important things, and I finished up writing for personal journal and do things, and did some online editing and stuff, not unrelated on that point. But around 4 p.m., after waiting for some sunscreen, I decided to bike along a place and all the way from my home to Upland, and I wanted to try out something at a Walmart, which was one of the garlic breads. And I biked my bike along some of the studs in front of the Walmart out there in 1440 East Foothill Boulevard, and the Walmart there where the cameras are present. And while I was in the store, someone cracked my bike lock and stole it. But right as I entered the store initially, there were two colored kids and one white kid who was out there selling chocolates and candy. And after I had brought my products and decided to exit, the bike was gone. On a related note is that one of the unrelated women in there said that her husband went in that direction, but they don't know exactly where they went beyond that. Regardless, though, I held a conversation with one of those kids of whom I do not remember clearly, and they said they don't know them, but they did give me their phone number. Excuse me for my memory here as I'm still in shock, but the footage presented should fill in the gaps. They told me that they don't know the person who stole it, but then presented their phone number to me, and that they think is a suspect. But they forced me to give $7, which I hesitantly did through an old gift card. Later on, I then talked to some more on how I can get my bike back, and they said the other guy who had his number offered to call them, of whom I also recorded getting that phone number too. They said they're coming back, but since I presented $200 to them, I gave them $100. But then I said later, I'm only giving the other $100 if the other guy comes with a bike. And the problem is that they said they should have both of it if he comes. I didn't believe that, so I waited there. Even as local officers came to an unrelated situation, as dumb as it is, I tried to negotiate with the kids there. Maybe this would truly be a good situation, that they're goodwill people. But that did not happen, and I did retain my other $100. The evidence shows the rest of the things that did happen, however. The footage should show what else that I did not recount. But one key point later is that they said they apparently left it in a bush, which contradicts their saying that somebody else has it later and much later on. And because they also use it as leverage, that they won't make him come with the bike in his car if I have that $100 with me. And those same kids first said to me that they don't know him, but now they're using that lost bike leverage to apparently get themselves $100. Even in the footage, they snatched my $100, tried to snatch my $100 multiple times, so they still failed. And I also got footage of license plates, also that at the same time. They said even on another occasion later on that if I hand them $100, that the bike is in the trunk, it's in here, it's in there only if I give it to them. But I looked in the glass, but there's only blankets, which they also lied at that point too. What I'm saying is that even though this is a blurry recount, I can say that either these boys are completely unrelated to the real robber and give a fake phone number, and are using the fact that my bike was gone to their advantage, or that they are in this too about stolen bikes and they are working as indirect accomplices with the leader, making it a very dangerous situation of that someone just stole my bike. I know I was dumb when I gave them $100, but I do believe that though dangerous, I did manage to get a lot of information, especially with that phone number too. Although I still cannot fully recount about the many details in between, of which I would like to speak into the PD department or with a detective supporting officer. Just use this video as an anchor because I'm writing this as it is before I sleep and before time and people can try to fog up my memory, even if some things that I do say are incorrect and missing detail. But when I did call 911, I called it the first time it was stolen and I saw nothing there. Then I eventually called the non-hotline about the situation and they took in my information and all of that. I then called about a few more times to the non-emergency hotline sharing some other important information. But the thing is that they did bring me most to fear for the kids is that even though the caller told me to stay put and said to me that 911 officers will come in and take my info, like there's no more calls for the day. I say that because I called so many times that the dispatcher might have been confused that I'm sending information and not that there was a theoretical active threat, even though they said they're sending officers. So the last call I did send, they did tell me to walk to the PD and they said they'll deal with it there. The thing is, one of the key points that do define it is that I felt true fear because when the kids, when I was talking to, said to me that they'll kill us if we don't hand $100, quote unquote. That is when my survival instinct truly kicked in because I knew even my mom criticized me later on after they said that when I was walking. But even then, my dad also told me to stay put. And that they also might follow me, and my brother also. But the reason that I ran to the police department after they said that key footage right there is that even if there is a slight possibility that they said that they're going to turn with the bike and that they're going to kill us in that last footage, I had to leave that premises. I had to leave and run to the police department instead of just staying there. Because if this was a real threat, in theory, like this could have been a drive-by shooting where the person in the bike would have ended up pulling out a weapon or doing something bad to me, where I would not just lose my life, but those people too would also lose their life. Or one coming from to return my bike would also come and do some other bad things to me. Is that when they said that point right there, they'll kill us if you don't hand us $100 later on. That's when I really feared because I don't think this is about the bike anymore. This is about something that is way more worse. And I'm not sure if when they said those lines, if they were bluffing or not, I have no idea. But I left ignoring even my own parents' advice to stay because that would risk even into danger and bodily death had those people, and that driver actually came and picked up. I in theory, had I followed my father's advice and all these people, and that had that driver been armed, I would have been in theory killed. That is why I ran to the police department, even though I don't think I emphasize it enough to the 911 callers. Is that it is a survival instinct, and that is why I overrode my parents' own advice on the possibility of a death. Even if they returned with my bike, the fact that they said that it's already risky and it's something that's really dangerous. And even if the PD driver is a bit far, and if the main driver who was with the bike comes first before them, then that would have been far more dangerous, is what I'd also say in theory. And I would not guess whether those kids or the quote unquote driver who's returning my bike were not. Were not. So I just chose to leave. I'm not risking my life, even if they followed me, which they did not follow me. What I say to my dad is that even beyond the police report, is that I would have been killed had it been armed. Even if I was in the Walmart, people could just watch the door and find me. I couldn't tell the full details to the people when my family was calling because I was in shock. I can't describe things. My dad told me to go to a psychiatrist yet. And beyond the subjectiveness and the personal family things I'm saying right now, I do believe that on a hunch this could be a targeted crime ring because on many occasions they tried to snatch my $100 and they tried to use leverage. He said that who the person is, yet they tried to use advantage of that person being right back and saying that they'll come and give me $100. And as for me, I am pressing charges. Although I may or may not get my bike back, I do want these individuals prosecuted under law because what they did commit are typically violent. I know that my recounts may not be as accurate because I'm also saying this before I enter sleep mode and before I get even more foggy. I was pretty inconsistent when calling is that to my brother and officers, instead of being concise, is that, as I said, I was in shock mode. I was just trying to describe what in theory could be a crime ring and trying to describe something that is highly complex and, while we're in general, it cannot just be said with a phone call or words, especially with the fact that they said that they're going to kill. If my bike was a Cannondale Adventure 2, I closed $810 retail. So $107 from me via extortion. I saw the phone number that do not go to that Walmart along 1440 Foothill Boulevard, guys, as it is risky for biking. Beyond this mention is an entrance scene that is unrelated to the situation physically, but more of a counter response to my parents. Beyond to the realm of stealing itself, I mean, one can say that this was a test by life itself and how we are going to go after that point, or a true test about a rite of passage subjectively to any bikers or outdoors person when they get their bikes stolen too. We can say that, well, in theory, this encounter would have been far more deadly had I not did what I did. I'm glad I escaped for my life and I get to tell the story. We can also reframe this as not a stolen bike situation, but since we went to the police department, we went to get several parents' advice to stay put and we followed that raw life force of justice and every walk toward that department, following our own compass, which may help bring the possible accomplices to justice once the footage is uploaded. $127. So I will still personally press charges. I did willfully ignore my own parents' advice to stay put and I didn't follow them, not because I don't want to disobey them, but because I follow my own valid instincts. But as for that report itself back into reality, is that the full description in person with an officer on text would really sharpen out those details and highlight the direct situation. As I said, I have zero idea if those people are related with the criminal or not, if they're just playing around or if something's actually going on. And also, evacuating too is also based out of the internet. So that's what my recount is here before I end up sleeping on.